Hello ladies and gents, it's Jake here, and during Batman's adventure through the Arkham City prison, he encounters quite a few of his old villains and even meets some new ones, and most of these villain encounters usually culminate in a boss battle, and today we're going to be ranking the boss battles of Batman Arkham City. Remember, this is only my opinion. Let me know how you would rank the boss battles in the comments below, and let's get started. Starting off in last place, I have the boss against Deadshot, and the main reason this is in last place is because it really isn't much of a boss fight at all. All you do is sneak up behind Deadshot while he's searching for you, do a vent takedown from underneath him, and that's it. The entire mission built up Deadshot as this master assassin who's really hard to take down, and yet he's defeated so easily. There's no unique environment to this boss either, as it takes place on one of the Bowery rooftops that you've likely run across multiple times in your many playthroughs. Deadshot has a couple lines of dialogue that are well written, but they're very repetitive, and if you just rush through this encounter like most players do, you likely won't hear more than 2 or 3. All in all, this has got to be the worst boss in the game, largely due to feeling like a big wasted opportunity. Next I have the boss against Victor Zsasz. Similar to Deadshot, this isn't really a fight either, instead it's more of a Predator encounter. Now to its credit, the hostages here do give this encounter some narrative stakes, and the environment is very unique and fun to work your way through. The dialogue from Zsasz also gives you a sense of dread and really makes your skin crawl. The encounter is pretty short and a little forgettable, but it does feel like a fitting conclusion to what the entire side mission has done up to that point, and that aspect on its own is enough to place it above the Deadshot boss, but it's still fairly low on this list. Then I've got the boss against Mad Hatter. This is another boss that goes by relatively fast, but there are a number of aspects that make it stand out. The visual of Batman's cowl with added rabbit features was really unnerving and set the tone for the boss very nicely. The constantly falling platform gives you this sense of vertigo, which is enhanced by Mad Hatter's taunts coming from all around you. Now the actual strategy for the fight is pretty basic in that all you have to do is fight your way through the goons until Mad Hatter appears and then shoot him with your REC gun. Once you go through this process 3 times, Mad Hatter appears for the final time and you take him down for good. The visuals and unique aesthetic of this fight are definitely the standout elements, but it doesn't have much going for it outside of that. Then I have the boss against the Riddler. This is another encounter that's not a typical boss fight, but still has a lot of unique elements. The goal of this encounter is to make your way to the Riddler while staying out of the path of his hostages, for if they stop moving, they're toast. The large number of hostages definitely keeps you on your feet as you try to work out your strategy while staying out of their way. The added sound effects that come with the explosives in the room add a sense of dread that really works for this encounter. Once you finally reach Riddler, you then do a floor takedown from underneath him to take him out, which is just as satisfying as it sounds. This encounter is certainly a departure from other boss fights on the list, but it's definitely a fitting conclusion to everything that Riddler has put you through up to that point. Up next I've got the boss against the Joker, who's technically Clayface, but you get my point. Now the Joker himself isn't that much of a physical threat, but the addition of multiple thugs, Abramovich, and a Titan monster definitely provide a challenge. The setting of the funhouse provides a unique visual, and the track cars coming in and out of the area definitely spiced up this fight. Mark Hamill's dialogue throughout the fight is great as always, and it's certainly very satisfying to deliver a massive beatdown on who we think is the Joker. The problem is that Joker isn't really the focus of this fight at all, due to the fact that you're constantly knocking him out of the way to attack his buddies, and you only take him down at the very end. This fight has a couple elements that make it memorable, but it doesn't leave a mark as being a good fight with the Joker specifically. Next up, I've actually got a tie between 2 boss encounters that are more or less the same, which is the Catwoman Predator map against Two-Face and the Robin Predator map against Harley Quinn, from the Catwoman Story Pack and Harley Quinn's Revenge respectively. Both of these have good environments, with the museum and the Catwoman map being well designed, albeit repetitive due to its presence in the main story, while the Robin map brings in a whole new environment with the dockyard that is well designed in its own right. Something unique to both of these Predator maps that sets them apart from any in the main story is the constant recurring goons that continue to appear regardless of how many have been taken down. The dialogue from Two-Face and Harley is relatively well written and fits the context of both scenarios, and the hostages in the Robin map also provide it with some unique stakes. Overall, I think both of these bosses work well enough for what they are, and they're tied on this list for 5th and 6th place. Just outside the top 3, I have the boss against Solomon Grundy and the Penguin, though Grundy is definitely the heavy hitter in this fight and takes up most of its length. The fight mainly revolves around dodging the shockwaves made by Grundy's stomp and putting explosive gel on the platforms whenever they open. Once you get into round 2, there's an addition of these explosive bugs that can definitely be a nuisance. After Grundy gets taken down, Penguin enters the arena and starts shooting an explosive gun at you, and you're required to dodge the explosives as you make your way to him. Now, Penguin isn't exactly difficult to beat, but it's extremely satisfying delivering a beatdown on Cobblepot after he's been toying with you throughout your entire time in the museum. Overall, this fight certainly isn't that difficult, but it does have its entertaining moments. Kicking off the top 3, I have the final boss against Clayface, and there's a lot of things that make this boss stand out. The environment of the Monarch Theater feels oddly fitting for the finale of the story, despite not having a role prior to now, but it's incredibly symbolic for who Batman is. Clayface works greatly as a physical threat and really keeps you on your toes as you try to figure out his pattern, which is constantly changing, and you're only given a brief visual cue and a few seconds to determine your next move. Joker's dialogue during the first phase also adds a unique flavor to the fight, and once you beat Clayface twice on the first floor, Joker blows up the floor and sends you and Clayface to the lower level as you enter the final phase. During this phase, Clayface spawns in a bunch of minions and Batman wields Talia al Ghul's blade, and taking on these clay minions with the sword is incredibly fun, and I wish we got to see more of this playstyle, but it makes sense why it's only in this one section. There's a good bit of challenge here too, as you have to constantly be aware of the minions around you while keeping your eyes peeled for Clayface and dodging the occasional projectile that he throws your way. Overall, I think this boss is incredibly fun and extremely fitting as the finale of the main story. For our runner-up, I have the boss against Ra's al Ghul. This boss not only works great from a narrative standpoint, but is very fun gameplay-wise as well. The setting for the fight is this desert wasteland type illusion where you're being attacked by Ra's and a legion of ninjas, and working your way around the crowd of minions while waiting for Ra's to appear is a great way to keep you on your feet. Occasionally, Ra's will grow big inside the illusion and be guarded by his ninjas, which forces you to keep circling them and search for an opening to shoot Ra's with your REC gun. After doing this for a while, Ra's will emerge from the sand and unleash a flurry of attacks on you that forces you to counter like crazy, and the remainder of the fight recycles all these elements. Ra's growing big, his minions attacking you, and so on. Also, at random points during the fight when you counter one of the ninjas, the illusion breaks for a moment and you can actually see Ra's himself in the room you met him. More than almost any other villain, Ra's really tests Batman's moral code and does everything he can to make him break it, and that aspect of his character, along with all the other gameplay aspects, makes this boss one of the best in the game. And in first place, I have the boss against Mr. Freeze. This boss really takes what you've learned at this point in the game and puts your brain and strategic mind to the ultimate test. You're forced to attack Freeze using a myriad of unique moves and constantly having to change up your method of attack, as once you perform a certain move on him, he makes it impossible for you to repeat that same move. Also, there's an added challenge on New Game Plus, to where if you're using your detective mode too often, Freeze will disable it for the duration of the fight. Along with the well-crafted gameplay elements, the narrative tension during this fight really works as well, as Freeze doesn't really want to fight Batman and vice versa. He just wants to save his wife and needs Batman's help to do that, and he's gotten so desperate to the point where he'll fight Batman if it results in Nora's rescue. Speaking of Nora, there's also some frozen statues of her around the room that you can destroy to anger freeze even further if you're in dire need of a distraction. This brilliant mix of narrative tension and creative gameplay elements make this boss easily my favorite in this game, and arguably the best of the entire Arkham series. Now that you guys have seen my list, what do you think? How would you rank the boss battles of Batman Arkham City? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, drop your thoughts in the comments, share this video with your friends, leave ranking suggestions in the comments below, and definitely subscribe if you want to see more. Peace out, Gothamites.